Hello, good morning, and welcome to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be doing a 24-hour reading challenge. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw I have my before page on there, kind of talking about my rules, but I'm going to talk about it again now because I know not everybody follows me on Instagram, and vice versa. This is a pretty ambitious 24-hour reading challenge. I have 6 books on my list. 6 books seems like an awful lot. It does. 2 of those books only have 90 pages in them. One of them I'm going to be reading Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I've already started, and I'm about halfway through, so I only have 90 pages left of that. And then another one of the books is only 90 pages, so it's really short, really quick read. Kind of the guidelines that I made for myself for this are I want to read ebooks, audiobooks, and physical books. I do have 2 audiobooks in there, and they are The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson and This Is Not the Jess Show by Anna Carey. Amityville Horror, I've kind of been wanting to read this for a really long time. I don't know much about it. A lot of these books that I'm reading, I don't know much about them because I like to go into books pretty blind. If I have too many expectations, then I kind of create issues in my head, and then I'm looking for what's going to go wrong in this book, and I'm trying to figure it out before the book even gets to the plot, and it's easier for me to enjoy these books if I don't know what they're going to be about before. Let me just do a quick rundown of my TBR for this 24-hour reading challenge. As I mentioned, I'm going to finish Perks of Being a Wallflower. I have no idea how to pronounce the guy's name, so I'm not going to try. But I will have all the books that I've read with their authors down in the description box. I'm going to be reading The Twin by Natasha Preston. This book is 375 pages. That's it for my physical books. So on to audiobooks, as I mentioned, Amityville Horror and This Is Not the Jess Show. And then I'm going to be moving on to Hi Chloe. And then I'm going to be reading some ebooks. So the ebooks I'm going to be reading is Moonshine and Murder by Kathleen Brooks, and that is the 92-page ebook. That's very short, quick read. I don't know much about this besides that it is paranormal. I believe there's witches in it, and I really don't know much more about that. And then the last ebook, which I don't think I'm going to finish this one at all just because I don't think it's practical. So the last ebook is going to be The Watchmaker's Daughter by C.J. Archer, and this is 238 pages. Chloe. Okay, so I did some math and I made some assumptions to kind of plan out exactly how many books would be possible and then how many would be practical. So for audiobooks, I don't know if you know this, but it is my day job to proofread audiobooks, so I do this all day long. And I just can't listen to audiobooks at like 1 speed. I have to listen to those at 1.5 or faster. So some of these audiobooks that are 6-7 hours are really not going to last for 6-7 hours. They're gonna, whatever 1.5 speed is of 6-7 hours is. I don't know. I read, I don't do math. I'm also making the assumption that 1 page is going to take me 1 minute to read. Now, that's kind of an average because, some pages are going to be like half pages and some pages are not. And then there's also those pages that are just like, part 3. So if I take an average of all the pages I read, I expect they probably will be about 1 minute per page. I don't know. So if I was to read for every single second of this readathon, it is possible for me to get through all of these books, all these pages, and all of these minutes of the audiobooks. However, it is not practical. So practically, I think I'm going to get through both audiobooks. I think I'm going to finish Perks of Being a Wallflower. I think I'm going to get through most of The Twin by Natasha Preston. Might not finish that one. And I think I'm going to get through most of Moonshine and Murder, probably finish that one because it does look like a quick read. Yeah, so I'm excited. So, I don't know. Let's get started. so it is 12:30 and I just finished Perks of Being a Wallflower. I think I would give this book like 4 out of 5 stars. I think that it was really good. The ending is not exactly as I expected it was going to be. It did also take me a little bit longer to finish this. As you know, I said earlier, I had about 90 pages left and it took me 2.5 hours to read, which is, if you do the math real quick, it's not a minute a page. But this book kind of makes you think about what's written. Yeah, Charlie just goes through life and everything is so sentimental to him, and everything is so, like, he's very emotional, and he takes a lot of things very seriously, and he thinks about things a lot more than like an average 16-year-old would think about things. He seems like a good friend, but he's also going through a whole lot. I think this is one of those books that everybody should read, and I think a lot of people actually have read this book sometime in the past. Although I think it's a little wild that I thought this book was more of a YA book before I went into it, considering, you know, he's a 16-year-old and he's going through high school. It's a lot more mature and has a lot more mature themes. It's like if you were to pick up this book, I would give you trigger warnings because it does talk about sexual assault and drugs and violence and stuff, and I would not expect that from a YA book. As, you know, a 25-year-old reading this, like, it made me sad, really. Like, poor Charlie is just going through it, and he's just trying to find a way to live life and make friends, and it's just hard because he over sentimentalizes everything and he takes everything so serious, and he's such an emotional person that, like, things that might seem like they don't mean much to, I won't say a regular person, but like somebody else, would mean a lot to him. I do compare this book a lot to Go Ask Alice. I feel like they have very similar vibes with the writing style. Like, Go Ask Alice was written in journal entries, and this is written in letters, which is essentially journal entries. It's just they're written to somebody and sent to somebody who we never know who it is. But Go Ask Alice also kind of has that anonymity thing around it. It's hard to explain, but the way that they talk about life and the way they talk about events of the day and interactions with people is like things happen to them instead of them causing things to happen. They kind of go through life watching and observing things happen. And that's kind of one of the big things that Charlie talks about. Is one of his teachers says, I want you to participate instead of just watching and being the wallflower. I don't know, I have a lot of opinions on this, but I don't want this video to be too long and I don't want to go too much into it. 4 stars, I really recommend it. I think it's great. So now I have some things to do during the day since it's getting a little later than I thought, and that took me a little bit longer than I thought I was going to. I have to fold some laundry and I have to go to the grocery store, so I'm going to move on to listening to one of the audiobooks. I think I'm going to do Amityville Horror. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that one. this light is very much in my face, but that's what time of day it is. It is about 6:15 right now, and I just finished the Amityville Horror by Jay Anson. This was in audiobook form, and that was perfect because there was a lot of things that I needed to do. Anyways, so I finished Amityville Horror, and honestly, 3 out of 5 stars. I think it was very entertaining, and I enjoyed it. It's kind of a quick read. Kind of weird to say, but it plays like a bad movie, which is great because I love bad movies. Like, bad horror movies are probably my favorite genre, so that's great. So if you see it as a bad movie or you see it as a comedy or whatever, like, it's very enjoyable and it's kind of funny sometimes. For example, like when the family moves into this house, haunted stuff starts happening and they kind of write it off as, oh, like, it's just my imagination, whatever. And they kind of do that to each other too. Like, the husband and wife, when they try to explain it to each other that haunted stuff has been happening, they're like, oh, it's just your imagination. Or they're like, talk over each other and they like can't hear each other, basically confirming to each other that it's a haunted house. And kind of a funny character. It's kind of weird to say, but I found his character to just be comedic. I'm not really sure what the point of his character was, but the priest who came to bless their house in the beginning, all he does is he goes to the house and he tries to bless the house, and then this like disembodied voice tells him to get out, and he listens to it, he gets scared, and he leaves. And then I feel awful laughing because like it's not funny, but it is. So since he leaves the house, all that's happening is like he gets physically ill, and they keep going back and forth between the house with like haunted things happening. One of the things that happen is like the wife is in the kitchen and she smells perfume, and then she feels a feminine presence hug her from behind. And then we switch over to the priest, and he's like talking about how he has a fever of over 101. And then we go back, and then the husband has something else spooky that's happening to him, and he's talking about whatever spooky thing that happens to him. And then you go back to the priest and he's talking about boils on his hand. It seems comedic to me, the way they go back and forth. And the priest doesn't really ever, I don't think he goes into the house. So why is he getting all these physically ill symptoms, but the people actually living in the house are fine? Like, like the demon or whatever it is just messing with their minds, and it doesn't actually make them physically sick. Their attitudes do change, so it's kind of hard to tell because there's not much story that happens before they move into the house. But when they move into the house, they talk about how they have less patience and how the kids are acting up more and stuff like that. So like their characters do kind of change, or it's implied that they change. I didn't really pick up on that too much. Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say on this book because I don't want to be, like, as I said before, like, this is a 24-hour challenge and I'm only like 8.5 hours in right now, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about each book individually. I am getting tired. I think I'm gonna go make my second cup of coffee, and then I'm going to settle in with The Twin by Natasha Preston. Yeah, so see you there. Alright, I know this is supposed to be a montage, but listen to this. Our mom died after falling off a bridge while out running 2 weeks ago. That sounds suspicious. Okay, so it's been about 12 hours and it's a little bit after 10 o'clock at night right now. That's why the lighting is so bad, because it's dark outside. It's a little bit after 10 o'clock. I have read all of Amityville Horror. I finished Perks of Being a Wallflower. I'm on page 130 of The Twin. 2 cups of coffee in. I ate dinner. I didn't cook it because my boyfriend came home and he cooked. Also, I've been going a little bit slower with reading because my boyfriend did come home and I haven't talked to anybody all day, so I was a little chatty. But anyways, so it's been 12 hours, halfway through. Yeah, going strong. I'm going to take a bath next. Alright, it's about 1:30 in the morning and I'm getting really sleepy and really tired. I'm about halfway through the twin and it's getting a little bit annoying. I don't know. The story itself is kind of frustrating. I'll talk more about that tomorrow because I'm sure I'm going to read more of it tomorrow. For now, I'm going to be switching to my Nook and reading Moonshine and Murder. Okay, so it's the next day. The reading challenge is over. Yay, 24 hours. Yay. Oh boy, it was a lot tougher than I thought it was gonna be. But before I get into that, let me just recap what happened over the night, because I believe the last thing I talked about was that I was switching from reading this book to something on my Nook. I was switching books. So I ended up reading to page 198 in the twin. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you know that I have a thing for Natasha Preston. I have like a soft spot in my heart for her. But that being said, she's not a good author. I just like, she's one of those guilty pleasures things. Like, it's not good. I don't know. I just love it. It's like watching bad, scary movies, or I don't know, getting cardboard pizza from the freezer or something. It's something we do. We like it. We enjoy it. So the premise of this book is there are twins. I hate that she named them this because it confuses me every time. So their names are Ivy and Iris. Ivy and Iris's parents got a divorce and they split up. One twin decided to live with the dad, Ivy, and Iris decided to live with the mom, and they lived an hour apart, so they didn't really see each other, but occasionally on holidays. So instead of living like twins, they kind of lived more like distant cousins. Essentially, it was just Iris and her dad for like 6 years or something like that. But anyways, so the mom dies and Iris comes back to live with Ivy and her father. Right from the start, Ivy does not want to talk about her mom. She doesn't want to talk about her past, and she starts being really sketchy. So she like is in Ivy's room and she goes through her stuff, and she's just being really weird, but in a way that only Ivy would see. The dad is just like, oh, whatever, you know, she needs time, give her lenience, like she was closer to your mom, like she lived with her, obviously she's going through a hard time, whatever. And then they start going to school together, and Ivy immediately befriends Iris's friends. I switched it up. Iris is the one that's being sketchy. Iris is the one that lived with the mom. Ivy is the main character. See, it's confusing. So Iris is being sketchy. She befriends Ivy's friends and Ivy's boyfriend and the school enemy and like literally everybody in the school. She befriends everybody. She's charismatic. She starts kind of like planting seeds of doubt into her friends' minds and into her boyfriend's mind. And the friends immediately believe everything and immediately start to turn on Ivy, and these are considered her best friends. I was getting really annoyed, and like the way that the way the boyfriend just like immediately started turning, I don't know, I feel like the pacing was really slow, and I just like, how many times can you go through the same thing over and over and over again? Anyways, so I decided to take a break with that. I didn't get very like halfway through, but like I feel like I didn't get very far in the story. So I switched over to Moonshine and Murder. And this is a short one, and it's like a silly little cozy romance, cozy mystery. It's a silly little cozy mystery with a paranormal aspect to it, and it's really cute. So like the premise of this one is this girl, she's trying to be a lawyer. Something happens and she ends up getting like fired from her job and kind of blackballed. So she moves to like a small town in a different state. She opens up her own bakery, which was like her dream the whole time. She didn't want to be a lawyer. This is like a moonshine town. Everybody is very big on moonshine. And that night is a moonshine competition. So everybody goes to like this place. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It kind of seems like a little festival thing where everybody goes, and there's 3 different moonshines from 3 different groups of people. So there's 3 in total. That was confusing. 3 different moonshines. And everybody tries the different flavors. I think there's like bacon, and there's the peaches, I think. I can't remember. Something fruity, something bacon, and then the other one is just classified as like crisp and light and whatever. I don't know. So they taste them all to pick a winner, whatever. The main character is walking home, and she sees something weird happening in her, I'm not sure if they're neighbors, because this book is like so fast-paced, boom, boom, boom. You're not really getting a lot of details, and that's kind of something that you get with a cozy mystery. It comes with the territory. Anyways, she sees something happening in these 2 old ladies she knows backyard, and it's like light flashing, and somebody is there, and it's like menacing, and the way it's described almost sounds like a Harry Potter Voldemort standoff where there's like light going at each other, and it's just like, that's what it is. One of the guys, or the guy that was there, because there's 2 ladies and the guy bursts into flames, and the light that he was shooting off goes into the main character's mouth, and she absorbs it. I don't know. So she ends up passing out, and the 2 old ladies are just like, oh, nothing happened, you just hit your head, you're seeing things, you're imagining things, whatever. And she's just like, oh yeah, probably. That's probably what happened. So she's leaving the next morning, and she finds a dead body on the ground, and she's like, oh my God, a dead body. And she goes to touch it to see if it is dead. As soon as she touches it, he disappears. And he like reappears in her bakery that she finds later. And it's kind of about as far as I got. I mean, she ends up talking to those 2 ladies again, and the 2 ladies try to tell her like, oh, you absorbed the magic, you're a witch now. Estimated this book, I'm probably going to give about 3 stars at the end, but that's tentative because I didn't finish it, obviously. Oh, going back to the twin, estimated that's gonna be about 2.5 to 3 stars. It's just, if the ending picks up, I'm gonna give that 3 stars, but if it stays at this pace, it's gonna be about 2 stars. It's like one of my least favorite Natasha Preston books. So yeah, that's like a wrap up of those books. I'm trying not to talk too long because I've already been talking for like 9 minutes. So anyways, just like a general wrap up, I read 1 full book and 3 half books. The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson, I read that one completely. I will give that one 3 stars. I finished reading Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I started reading before this, so I only had about 100 pages left. I finished that, give that one 4 stars. It was amazing. Little issues, that's why it's not 5 stars. I read halfway through The Twin, which is going to be, you know, the 2.5 to 3 stars, and I read halfway through Moonshine and Murder, which is going to be about 3 stars. I read in total 666 pages. No, I did not make that up, and no, I did not do that on purpose. These things happen. So the way that's split up is I read 542 pages between 10 a.m. and midnight, and then from midnight to 10 a.m. I read 124 pages, which brings me to hours slept. I slept for about 6 hours. I didn't mean to. Around like 2:30, I literally couldn't keep my eyes open anymore, and there's no point in just like forcing yourself to stay open and reading pages just to read pages. Like I feel like it's not reading anymore. You're just looking at the words and you're not absorbing anything and you're like missing things. So I went to sleep. And I woke up about 8:30 and I went right back to reading Moonshine and Murder. Drank about 3 cups of coffee. I think that's about all I wanted to say. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Well, not a lot harder, but it was harder than I thought it was going to be. I'm really glad that I started in the morning because it started getting hard at night. If I was to do this again, I'd probably start before 10 a.m. I'd probably try to start maybe 7 a.m. because I got a lot done during the day. But like once it was dark, once I was like, all right, I'm gonna lay down and read, that's when it just got really hard. Maybe it's just because at that point it had already been reading for like 16 hours. Who knows? Would I do this again? Probably. I think it was fun. Yeah, it's fun to read so many books at once. I did a lot better than I thought I was going to for the first try. With only 6 hours of sleep, it's only a quarter of the time, so that's pretty good. 666 pages. I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but I expected to read more, like closer to 800. But you know, it is what it is. So I'll try again next time. But all around, I had fun. I hope you had fun with me. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Like, if you want to comment or subscribe, I'm not gonna be mad. Yikes. Okay, no, I definitely need more sleep. Anyways, I hope you like this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.